Now, live. Broadcasting live on the Double Wide Network. It's time for The Real Deal. Join the Ambassador and Danny Q as they put together great guests and honest commentary on a range of issues. But one of their main topics will be preserving Native American tributes in sports team nicknames. These two are also avid fans of music and the arts, and they'll always make time for a great song or two. Now, it's time for The Real Deal. And here are your hosts, the Ambassador and Danny Q.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the Camelback Towers in beautiful downtown Scottsdale, Arizona. You're listening to The Real Deal on the Star Worldwide Networks. I'm here with my co-host, Danny Q. Say hi, Danny.
Hello.
And my nephew, Mark Yellowhorse.
Hello.
We see you come with an Indian.
Oh, that Mark. How she gets in here, I just don't know.
She needs to get out.
And the son of the famous, world-famous Dave Pratt. Kyle Pratt's our host. Hi, Kyle.
How's it going, guys?
We're doing good. We're ready to rock. And then I have some other guests that are here that come in to see me, fly in immediately to see me. My friend Bali from Austin, Texas, who happens to be a fan of the Washington Redskins and the Atlanta Braves.
And Dennis Yellowhorse.
And Dennis Yellowhorse, that's right. And then my friend Alex, who come in from Beverly Hills, who's an avid fan of the Chicago Blackhawks. And so he come in to see me as well. And then we have Jennifer McKay, who is an avid fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, and she lives here in Scottsdale, and she comes to support the Chiefs and as well as all the teams. And as we do every week, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank the Kansas City Chiefs, the Washington Redskins, Golden State Warriors, Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians, Chicago Blackhawks for listening and honoring Native Americans by using this name. And teams, you got to listen to me and you got to believe me that they're coming after you. If Washington goes down, you guys are going down just like dominoes. So you can either support causes like ours, or they'll take the complaint that they filed at the Federal Trademark Office in D.C. and they'll just carbon copy it and change the names and refile it with the Golden State Warriors, Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians, Chicago Blackhawks, Kansas City Chiefs. And then you're going to end up paying a lawyer $1,000 an hour to defend you on this action, whether you like it or not. And that's what's going to happen. So what we try to do is educate here and not eradicate. That's the mission of The Real Deal. And I want to shout out to my Navajo brothers and sisters. Yateshe Dede, Nahadani Ambassador, Dennis Yellowhorse, and Shehadish Banana, Akwetzalah. 505, Akwetzalah, Navajo Nation, Akwetzalah, Flagstaff Redskins. Thank you for listening. Akehe, Dan Snyder, Gatekeeper, Jenna, Halbritter, Klinkpapit, Jenna, Viva Yaqui Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, they're my brothers and sisters down south in Guadalupe and down on the Mexican border and also in Tucson. So with that being said, we've got several things we're going to talk about tonight. We got a really good lineup, don't we, Dan?
Yeah, it's some very interesting, important people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to have Senator Chap Peterson from Virginia State Legislature.
Right.
He's one of the founders of the Redskins Pride Caucus.
Right.
And then we'll have our old friend Eunice Davidson back with her husband Dave.
Sure.
And she wrote the book, Aren't We Sue Enough?
Right.
And they've got some stuff planned for this weekend down there over by UND, and we're going to talk a little bit about that.
University of North Dakota, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the formerly Fighting Sioux.
Right. That's just a shame that they took that name against their will. And it was by non-Indians. It was by Anglos that come in and just railroaded them, and now they're fighting back to get the name back. Yes. And we're giving them the mic, we're giving them the airtime, and we're here to support them and stand with them.
It's just another example that shows that they are coming after all the names that are tributes to Native Americans.
Exactly.
It's a social genocide. You know, I was out there by myself.
Oh, yeah.
115-degree heat.
Yeah, the other day at the Kansas City Chiefs game, the name changers were out there protesting. It was 115 degrees, and I had a family emergency, so I couldn't go. But Dan went, and he was out there, and they had at first they had 4 protesters, and I think they ended up having a total of 10. And they were, out there with their fancy signs. We're not your mascot. We're not your chief. And they got flags now that Hal Britter and all the billionaires that are behind this movement is funding them and taking them around in air-conditioned buses and stuff. And
they literally had thousands of dollars worth of signs and not enough people to hold them. I mean,
right.
It was crazy. The nice printed up signs. I mean,
yeah, and see, when we go out there, I mean, I'm funding this show by myself. And I'm not a billionaire. And Dan and I and Mark, we're here and we're trying to spread the word and tell the truth and stay on the air. But I can tell you, they got a heck of a lot more money than we do, and then they got the media behind them because
they had a shuttle bus that they advertised on their flyer that they had a shuttle bus from the parking lot.
Yeah, air conditioned shuttle bus.
And I mean, it was just another one of Hal Britter's shows all the way.
Right.
And same group of people we saw at the last Chiefs game last year in December when we went. And, very small group. They were very angry and rude to people when people just wanted to know, what the deal was. Because
didn't you say,
rightfully so, people do not know that Chiefs is racist, so they asked them questions about it. One was an old man.
Didn't they get after him?
Yes, they were aggressive. I was saying to just about anybody who asked any questions or approached them in any way other than to kiss their butts.
Right.
And so I took those opportunities to hand out our cards and tell them there's
another side.
There's not just another side, but a vast majority of Native Americans support these names and you just go on and cheer for the team you like.
Right, and that's what we tell people, hey, we don't care. Like Darryl So, he's a fan of the Steelers. But he's a Navajo, and he knows what's right and what's wrong, and he knows this is a scam, and he calls them out on it. He's been on our show, and that's what I tell people. Look, I don't care who your favorite team is. It can be the Arizona Cardinals. It can be the Buffalo Bills. But on this issue, you need to stand with us. You need to back us. To keep us on the air and spread the word because we're here to tell the truth, and that's the purpose of the real deal.
So, Dennis, I know I just got in from Texas, so I have a question. So, Cleveland, if the Cleveland Indians is a racist name against Native Americans,
and they've been out here protesting Cleveland Indians games.
Is the Cleveland Cavaliers racist against white people?
That's a good point.
I think we need to add some protesters to the mix.
Yeah.
Just a question from a guy who's still trying to learn.
You're right. A question from an Indian from India.
Hey, man, that's racist. Don't call me Indian.
Okay. Good point. Next, I want to. I get letters through email every week from our supporters. Thanking us and telling us, keep up the good fight. And a lot of them I really appreciate. I appreciate all of them. So thank you very much. Just keep them coming. And I do read them. And, especially the ones from our schools around the country that are under fire. Lancaster, New York, Yoshimini, Pennsylvania, Wilmington, Delaware, Goshen, Wisconsin,
Indiana.
Yeah, I mean Goshen, Indiana. I'm sorry. And then what's the school in California? Chowchilla?
Chowchilla is one of 3 that are about to lose it at the state level.
Right. Yeah. So people heard about us, and our show has gone viral, and we get a lot of information from people around the country, and that's how we knew about John Boehner and Hal Britter, and we stopped that one in its tracks because all of our supporters contacted Ryan Day, his chief of staff. But I've got a particular letter that was sent to the school board in Conrad, Wilmington, Delaware, and the name of the school is the Conrad Redskins. And I'm going to read it to you, and I try to read a lot of them. And it says, Dennis, I'd like you to see this speech from a very upset mom that she will be presenting to our board meeting tonight. We had another sneaky thing happen last week here in Wilmington, just like Lancaster, New York. My name is Janet Schuhart. I am a parent of a Conrad student, and I am appalled at the actions of some members of this school board, their family members, and the principal of Conrad and some of his staff. The sneaky, underhanded way things have been handled has really shown their true colors by slowly and secretly eliminating the logo and the name from Spiritwear. It is obviously being assumed that the alumni, parents, and students won't notice. Well, that assumption is wrong, dead wrong. When the Conrad Redskins name and logo were chosen, like the Washington Redskins, the name was chosen to honor Native Americans in general. When the NFL team chose their name, it was also in honor of the coach and the 4 players at that time who were Native Americans. It was not racist, offensive, or humiliating. Like the current owner, Dan Snyder, said, the most important meaning of the name Redskins is the association that fans have to memories of their personal history with the team. I have seen firsthand how true this is with the students and alumni at Conrad. I was highly upset when the members of the football team approached me, 5 members, and showed me that the logo had been removed from the shirts that they were given. In addition, none, N-O-N-E, none of the Spiritwear currently available from the football team has the name or logo on it. I was under the impression that there was to be no change. Well, there was change, and it didn't go unnoticed. If the Washington Redskins owner, Dan Snyder, can stand up to U.S. congressmen and countless others and refuse to bow down to pressure, why can't the Red Clay School Board do the same? Once again, tell Mark Pruitt to stand down and insist that he do so, as well as his administrators and staff. He cannot blame the eradication of the logo on the very people he is responsible for, claiming he has no control. It all falls back to him. Either his staff is completely disregarding him, or he is not enforcing the ruling. Whatever it may be, he needs to be held accountable. And that was sent to me, and she said, I thought you would enjoy this. We are also having many students attend to show their support. Dennis, Ambassador, Danny Q, thank you for always being there with us. Teresa Satterfield, 1966 Conrad High School graduate, Conrad Redskins. That's the type of thing that we're here for, ladies and gentlemen, and I want everybody to unite and get behind these schools, because these school boards can be corrupted. They can either be incompetent or corrupted. But either way, they're changing these names, and a lot of them are changing the name Red Hawk, and there is no such thing as a Red Hawk, and they're working that angle. And then if you go to the Federal Trademark Office and see who has the name Red Hawk trademarked, it's Halbreder. It's Halbreder and his gang. And this is all documented. So with all of our research, and Dan and I have done, and Mark, and everybody and all of our fans, they keep us informed. I want to thank you and keep us going and keep us sending those letters, and I'll read them, but I'll definitely read them, and if I get a chance, I'll read them on the air. Thank you very much. Okay, we got a show to do. Dan, I think you got something you want to read, don't you?
This is the piece that we just received yesterday from Eunice Davidson, who will be on the show later on today.
Right.
And she's just talking about changing up the tactics and expanding about who we're going against, exposing everything as really a white movement. I mean, we've spent a lot of time attacking Ray Halbreder, and she addresses that and says, well, the people that he's doing this for are white people. The people that these name changers are working for are white people. Right. And the white people have been manipulating a bunch of radicals who are out for their own, personal and financial gain and a gain of notoriety, I guess. Right. So I'm just going to kind of read this over to our audience, and there's some really good thoughts in there. I'd like to share some thoughts with you. So far, most of your focus has been directed at Ray Halbritter, and with good reason. But by doing so, to the white community, it looks like a squabble between Indians, which is far from the truth as we can get. Good white people do not want to get involved for fear of being labeled a racist by the elites. Evil white people have no fear of being labeled because they feel that they are the only one to do the only one allowed to do the labeling. I am attaching a piece written by Gerald Visner some years ago. He is an enrolled member of Chippewa tribe in Minnesota and describes the motivation and tactics used and for the by and for the American Indian movement. Since AIM took over our tribal jail in 1972 with an armed standoff, they were not brought in by our tribe, which is Dakota Sioux. They were brought in by Chippewas living on our reservation. Our tribal members did not want them here. The National Coalition Against Racism in Sports and Media is made up of a lot of AIM members with the same motivation, for personal profit without a real job. But to focus on them is a loser for Native American Indian pride. Yes, they have to be exposed, but it will be the overall American population that will have to be the ones to make a difference. If we are to succeed, we must get them to realize who are the true racists here and what is at stake. The true culprits behind this movement are coming from the education system. Socialist Marxist professors have infiltrated the liberal arts departments of universities and are on a propaganda campaign that started back in the 70s. Also, stupid church organizations thinking they are helping by funding these agitators. These are individuals who have never had a job that wasn't paid by tax dollars and are graduating individuals who go out and live on tax dollars, spreading the lies they were indoctrined with. Having said this, I need to supply some proof. Because I haven't lived everywhere, I can only speak to what I know. Let me start with, I know what racism is. And today, racists have transformed that word into a totally different meaning, and the results are in fact causing bigotry and hatred. In 1965, after completing my tour in the Navy, I took my brother-in-law to a bar in Devil's Lake for a drink. He was told, "We don't serve Indians here," meaning in short, go to the back of the bus. I don't want to have to look at you. And up till the 1970s, many stores had no Indians allowed on their doors. That was true racism. Now, after years of improving race relations where that shit has disappeared, some are setting those accomplishments back years and generations through twisting the truth, and they are funded by mostly white racists. Here in North Dakota, at the University of North Dakota, starting back in 1977 with the newly formed Indian Studies program, white women were put in charge of teaching Indians about Indians. Dr. Mary Jane Schneider became the first head of the program. She was also an author of a number of books related to Native Americans. But at the same time, she started the fight to remove the Sioux name from the university. Because of the 1969 ceremony giving the blessing to the university to use the name in exchange for educational opportunities, the Indian student population rose from 30 to around 400 each year. Of those 400 students, 370 would get their education degrees and move on with fond memories of their time at the university. But on average, 30 students would stay for years before graduating and will stay in the Indian Studies department fighting to remove the name year after year, sometimes as long as 15 years, and getting well paid. In 1988, Lucy Ganji Anna started at the university as an instructor in the Indian Studies program. She was very involved with the creation of SOAR, Students Organized Against Racism, and Bridges, building roads into diverse groups empowering students, both of which were university funded and authorized by the Liberal Arts Department, were dedicated to the removal of the Sioux name or a complete contradiction to the very mission statement. At one point in her life, she was married to a mixed blood from Cheyenne River and had 2 daughters with him, which she brings to the university to aid her in her fight against the Sioux name. In 1991, Dr. Bridget Hans, an immigrant from Germany, replaced Dr. Snyder as the head of the Indian Studies. From her first days, she has worked to remove the Sioux name. She even lied to state legislators in 2011, trying to get the legislators to reject the Sioux people. These 3 white women have actually forced Indian men, including instructors, who have expressed support for names and images out of the university for daring to express that support in public. These handful of Indian agitators are products of the university system that has indoctrinated them, but it is white racist school boards like the Oregon Public School Board that told the Grand Ronde and Siletz tribe to go to hell for wanting to at least keep their name and image when they voted to ban all native names and images. Wisconsin and Washington State are hot on the heels of this practice, and as we look at Lancaster and other school boards, are just using Indian agitators for justification for their own bigoted and racist positions. They're quick to label anyone that disagrees as promoting racism without fear of exposing their own bigotry. They are the true racists, and somehow we must instill fear in them if we are to stop this genocide. When looking at Mark Furman, who testified in the OJ trial, his law enforcement career was ended because of a joke he told 20 years earlier. What these school boards are doing is not caving in. They are in favor of genocide, and I believe we must state it as such. Reservations are for specific tribes, such as ours is Dakota Sioux tribe. Standing Rock is Dakota. Nakota and Lakota Sioux. Turtle Mountains is Chippewa. Santee, Nebraska is Santee and Dakota Sioux. And I'm sure that Navajo have reservations of specific tribes and bands, all having distinct heritage, and because of intermarriages, their identity is being lost. For us Indians, once these reservations lose their identity, they will be lost forever. We are becoming just another Indian, and eventually that too will go. We have so many good and true arguments on our side. We need to use them and fight back with the truth on who are the actual racist ones by exposing what true racism and genocide looks like.
That was I read that Eunice, and you hit the nail on the head. You really did. And it gives a whole new perspective, from somebody like you, and we value and appreciate you coming on the show here in a little bit, because what you're saying is so true. I mean, these people are non-Indians. They're from Germany. And they're telling Native Americans, this is what you should think. This is what you should believe. These names aren't good for you, and they have their own agenda. And they are racist, and it is social and cultural genocide, what they're doing in America.
It's just what the missionaries did. It's just what the government schools did. We know better for you than you know for yourself.
Yeah, and I can tell you firsthand from my Che, Peter McDonald, that when he was going to boarding school, if any of the kids talked Navajo, they'd slap them. They'd punish them. They'd wash their mouth out with soap, wouldn't they, Mark?
That's brutal, man. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
I read all about it, especially, some of the code talkers, their testimonies about getting in school and stuff.
Yeah, and so they're being punished because they don't want them speaking their own language. So then in World War II, they're 18 years old and they're selected to use the Navajo language as a code by the Marines in Camp Pendleton, and they rounded all these kids up that were 18 and were joining the Marines, these Navajo kids, and they said, we want to develop this code. And they said, are we going to get punished? Are we going to get slapped around? Are we going to get hit over the head for talking Navajo? And the colonel or whoever it was says, no. But I mean, it just shows you
saved their ass.
It saved their ass. That's exactly right.
Completely.
But
it's
anyway,
a big slap in the face. The way I see it, you get it. You're not allowed to speak your language anymore, and then you come back and ask us to save you, and develop this code for you. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is, but it just shows you.
I'm here for them, and I'm so thankful for the code talkers.
It's we don't want you until we need you.
That's right.
Use and abuse.
We don't want you till we need you. Thank you, Ballard.
And then we'll throw you away again after that.
Yeah, what would you say last week, Dan? The trash. All they leave behind's the trash.
That's what it is. Whether it's people exploiting their land, people exploiting their language, people exploiting their children. It's take what you want from them and throw it away. And most of Indian country has really been thrown away. I mean, they suffer every single social problem on scales that just dwarf any other ethnic group in this country.
Something I think is really disgusting is that there's so many proponents of protecting people from foreign countries that come to this country illegally, but no one wants to protect the people that were originally here.
Yeah, right. Dan, I think we should go to our guest, right?
Yeah, our first guest is Senator Chat Peterson from the 34th District of Commonwealth of Virginia. And he is one of the founders of the bipartisan Redskins Pride Caucus. Senator Peterson, are you there?
Gentlemen, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you very good.
Wonderful. Well, I'm standing in a Fuddruckers in Fairfax County, Virginia. Just picked my son up from football practice, but enjoying listening to your program and proud to be on it.
Well, thank you.
That's the way to do it.
Senator, you guys have started this whole bipartisan caucus. Why? What do Redskins mean to you, and how did you get involved in this?
Well, I'm a Redskins fan almost from the day I was born. My father and I started watching games together when I was a little tyke, about 5 years old, and I was a fan of the team when they started winning Super Bowls in the 80s and became a season ticket holder in the 90s. And once I got into the state legislature, I continued my love for the team and support for the team. And I guess the way I got interested in the issue was I would read all these editorials bashing the Redskins and accusing them of being racist. And the ultimate irony, gentlemen, and I live on the East Coast, but I live in a community that's pretty much half black, half white, and, some other minorities sprinkled in, some Asians and Hispanics, and it's a very divided community. But the one thing that brought people together was Washington Redskins football. And I can tell you from my section in the stadium, you could not find an activity more integrated with people cheering together, sharing friendship. You had people that would attend their kids' weddings. So, friendships were formed. And I just found this allegation just incredible to me. And my father's family's from Oklahoma. So I had some knowledge of the American West and Indian country. And I felt like it was unfair. And so I was one of the founders of the Pride Caucus. I really did it to set the record straight and also to be a voice for fans. Again, on the East Coast, we don't have the native population as much as y'all do, but we're Redskins fans. We love the Redskins, and we think of that, or we want to honor Native American ancestors and the present day tribes, and we want to honor people. That's what we're trying to do. We sing "Hail to the Redskins" when we score the touchdowns, and it's meant to show pride. That's all it's meant to say.
Well, we appreciate your efforts and being on the show, and I hope you can spread the word about our show so people can hear from real Native Americans how they feel. That's what we're trying to do here, Senator.
Well, I'm happy to do that, and where I live in Northern Virginia is about a few miles from the team's practice facility, and I was down in Richmond, which is our state capital, where the team has its summer training camp, and Virginia loves the Redskins. That's our professional sports team. And again, I was listening to some of the earlier remarks how people in academia have sort of for their own purposes twisted words around and created causes. And it's ironic to me that, for example, around here, the Washington Post has been on a campaign for years to eliminate the team name. And the irony was when I was a kid, or not even when I was a kid, when I was even, back in the 90s, they used to mail out free bumper stickers and free schedules. And again, it was considered a community event when the Redskins played. Life just stopped. And somewhere, somehow, somebody thought maybe someone's making a buck off this, but, well, gee, let's attack the Redskins. Let's go after them. Let's go after their name. And if anyone dares to speak up, then that person's a racist.
Right.
I can only tell you, I mean, you know what it's like. I've been called every name in the book. And I said, look, all I can do is just tell you how I stand, and people that know me know where I stand, and I've got nothing but love. And it's been hard because I've had a lot of people sort of verbally spit in my face, but I believe in telling the truth, and that's where I stand.
Well, so do we. And I don't know if you've ever been out here, but on the Navajo Reservation, which is about in northern Arizona and in New Mexico and Utah, it's about 350 miles north of Phoenix, where we are right now. We have schools called the Red Mesa Redskins.
Oh, yeah. I'm aware of that. I've seen Bruce Allen, who's the general manager of the Redskins football team, sent me an article about that, so I read that.
Right, and we have the Shiprock Chiefs. That's another school over in Shiprock, New Mexico. And we have the Tuba City Warriors, and we have the Sanders Braves, and we have the St. John's Redskins, and all these kids that go to these schools are Native Americans. They're all Native Americans, and they're proud of these names. They're proud of these tributes. They're proud of these logos, and they wear it, and they love it. And
and you even have our Proud Brothers, the 505 Redskins.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of fan groups.
Yeah, we have fan groups that are Navajos and
way
Hopis.
out in the Southwest compared to the East Side.
Yeah, and these guys are all in, and they love their team, but they also their support to the school teams. A lot of these guys that are the Native American 505 Redskins are actually went to these schools when they were kids. And they love these teams. So how can somebody from back east up in New York State or the media like the Washington Post say this is wrong, this is racist, this is not good, this is racist, and all our kids are out here going to these schools and they're all Native Americans? It just blows my mind.
Well, I can't tell you how gratifying it is to hear from you guys, and I've got some ideas how we need to get together. It's a bigger issue than just team names. And, I love the Redskins, and they'll always be the Redskins to me. And I know people, listen, I know high school teams are attached to their names. But it's also just a matter of telling people, listen, the history of this nation is more than what just someone is dictating right now. I mean, it's a rich and varied history. And I get really upset about what I consider sort of this one-size-fits-all teaching of history, and that's really what's going on.
Right.
I mean, there's so many great things that happen in this nation. I mean, great and terrible things, but so many wonderful stories and different strands of history. And I feel like we're sort of making it all just generic. I mean, everyone's going to be the Tigers or the Lions.
Right.
But that's not what this country's about. I mean, this country had great traditions and people that were here and immigrated here, and I just feel like it's this dumbing down of American history and taking away the color in it, literally the color in it.
Right, and that's a good point. The color, yeah, that's a very good point. And I would be doing this. I'd be out there fighting for the Cleveland Indians, the Kansas City Chiefs. I grew up on the Navajo Reservation.
Yeah,
and my wife's Navajo, and my family are Navajos. I am not. But I would go fight for the Cleveland Indians. I'll fight for the Golden State Warriors. I'll fight for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll fight for the Atlanta Braves, Chicago Blackhawks. I'll stand with all of them because these are tributes to Native Americans, and the Native Americans are the real Americans. They're the first Americans.
They're what's unique to this country. Listen, my ancestors came from Northern Europe, and frankly, we're here and we're there. But, the American tribes, the Indian tribes, they're unique to America.
Absolutely.
No one else, the languages they speak, the traditions they have, they're not replicated elsewhere in the world.
Right.
And so, people speak English everywhere, but they don't speak Navajo everywhere.
And I look at myself and this show, we're custodians. We are custodians of this, of saving the names. And we're going to continue to do so as long as we can stay on the air.
Well, when are you all going to come out here and join me for a Redskins game?
We'll be there, won't we, Mark?
Yeah, Washington Redskins. You all invite me for a football game out there, but I'd love for you guys to come join me. We have tailgates before the games, and one of the members of our caucus is Louise Lucas. Her nephew is D'Angelo Hall of the Washington Redskins.
Oh, okay.
And we get Louise. She brings some of her friends up from downstate Virginia, and I'm from Northern Virginia. Man, we got to have you guys out for one of our barbecues.
Oh, I'd love to come.
Sure.
That'd be awesome, huh, Danny?
That's a deal.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, listen.
Senator, how many, approximately how many members of the legislature are involved in this?
I would say there's, it's like everything else in life. There's probably 25 or 30 that are nominal members, and then there's probably about 8 or 10 of us that do the actual work or go to the events and organize the cookouts. I mean, I get it. I mean, people lead busy lives, but there's really kind of a core group, I'd say, of 8 to 10 of us. And one of the things actually we're working on is obviously we're trying to get the Redskins to move their stadium to Virginia. And part of that is, of course, keeping the tradition and not caving into the pressure.
Right.
I completely read about that.
I did.
Yeah.
And thank God we got Dan Snyder. We call him the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan's on it. He's on it, and he gets it. He
gets it, and he ain't backing down. And we're not backing down, and we're amping it up as far as I'm concerned. And I just wish these other teams would get on board because they're sitting there thinking, let Dan Snyder take the hit. Let him take the hit.
Well, and the thing is, if the Redskins go down, the Cleveland Indians are next.
Oh, well, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've already said that's why they're protesting these teams. They're going down like dominoes.
Right.
You know?
And you're seeing a weird change out here. Even when they were playing the Pirates out here, the D-backs were playing the Pirates or something, they were protesting the Indians out here still. The Indians weren't even in town. It was really weird and odd. I was like, hey,
really?
Wrong game. Wrong date. Someone's looking at the wrong date and setting you guys up for failure.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's something else.
Well, listen, guys, it's an honor to be on. I got to feed my son some dinner.
Okay, well, thank you. And would you mind coming back on again?
No, absolutely not. And by the way, my email for all you folks listening is chap@fairfaxsenator.com. That's all one word, chap@fairfaxsenator.com. Drop me a note, and I'm serious. I'd love to have you guys come out. Maybe you could do a live broadcast.
Yeah, we would.
Game.
And be sure and tell all your friends and colleagues over there in Virginia to listen to our show.
Well, I'm on it. I'm going to put a link on my website.
Yeah, because we're the real deal, and we're telling it just like it is. We're just laying it down, and that's what we do here. And we have real Native Americans in the studio. We have real Native Americans on the phone and give them the mic, and it's
right.
They're not paid actors.
Well, listen, I'm just me. I'm 100% Virginia redneck on this end of the phone, so I'm honored to be in your presence. And let's work together. God
okay,
bless us.
Thank you so much, Senator. Have a wonderful evening.
Great man.
He's awesome.
What a wonderful interview.
Hey, we really got to go out there.
We will.
I called the founders yesterday, and he called me right back. He said, "Hi, this is Chap Peterson," and it took me a second, the way, because he talks like just a normal person, and he acted like he knew me, and he said, "You left a message for me." I said, "I did," and he said, "Yeah."
When I lived in Maryland, I spent a lot of time in Newport News, Virginia, because that's where we loaded a lot of vessels for my family's coal company, and we shipped vessels all over the world. But it was in Newport News, so I got to spend a lot of time in Roanoke, and I was in Richmond, and they're really nice people, and they're wonderful people, wonderful Americans, and we will make that trip.
Down to earth guy, I love him.
Yeah,
awesome.
and
the people senator.
Yeah, and there was a what was it, Dan, where they polled the registered voters just recently.
Yeah,
it was overwhelming in support of the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like 60 some percent with another 18% that were undecided.
Right, undecided. And let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if we get them to listen to the real deal, we'll have over 90%. I can tell you right now. So with that being said, we're going to take a short break before we go to our next guests up in North Dakota. And you know what the problem with these name changers are?
You can't handle the truth.
I still remember it was autumn and the moon was shining. Our 60 Cadillac was rolling through Nebraska winding, doing 120, then the fuse was bending over, heading out for the mountains, knowing we was traveling further. All the clouds were blazing and the spinning wheels were turning. And my girl beside me, brother, she was burning. I walked the Baptist preaching, Southern funky school teacher. She had a line on something heavy, but we couldn't reach her. We told her that we needed something that would get us going. kept on burning rubber. We kept on driving till we ran into some fall cover. We couldn't see a thing, but somehow we just kept on going. We kept on driving all night long and heading to the morning. Before we finally lifted where we looked to see what we was at. We were staring at a Colorado State policeman, trooper, cat and dog. Get out of Denver, better go. Get out of Denver, better go. Get out of Denver, better go. Get out of Denver, 'cause you look just like a commie and you might just be a member. Better get out of Denver, better get out of Denver, better go. 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 Get out of Denver, 'cause you look just like a commie and you might just be a member. Better get out of Denver, better go.
All right, we're back. That was Bob Seger with "Get Out of Denver, Baby." I got to get to Denver, and I'll get out of there right away. But that's one of Danny's favorite groups and one of his songs. And Danny's a big fan of Bob Seger, so that one was something we did. We picked out, but I always pick out some really rock and roll. I like my music, don't I, Mark?
Heck yeah. Completely. He's showing me some new stuff, and I'm like, holy cow.
Well, that's what I studied in Las Cruces, New Mexico State. Rock and roll.
Got it. And then even Dan showing me some old stuff. I'm like, wow, this is
well,
awesome.
Where have everybody from Michigan knows who Bob Seger is.
Yeah, well, we rock
cover.
We rock the house here at the Camelback Towers. Dan, let's introduce our next guest.
We've got Eunice Davidson, who's a good friend of ours for a lot of time now, and she's the writer of Aren't We Sue Enough? And she's accompanied by Frank Bagraff, and he's the Bergraff, and he's a former hockey player and alumni of University of North Dakota, and of course Eunice's husband Dave, who edited her book, and he edited that piece that I read earlier, and they're all three with us tonight. How you guys doing?
Good. Real good.
Yeah. Are you there, Dave?
Yeah, I'm here too.
All right. And Frank?
Yes, I'm doing very well, thank you.
All right.
Super.
Frank,
awesome.
We've talked with Dave and Eunice and gotten their story. Tell me how you got involved in this UND thing, and as a sports guy, I'm sure that meant a lot to you. I mean, isn't that your mantra?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's getting involved in this it's a tradition. It's 80 years of a gift that was given to the University of North Dakota to be known as the Fighting Sioux, and growing up in a community just to the north east of Grand Forks in northern Minnesota, where a lot of hockey players, my brothers, my great uncle, all that were involved with Grand Forks and the University of North Dakota. So it was a tradition that I grew up with as a young kid, and understood what the sanctity of it as a kid, what it means to become a member of a unique group of alumni, as probably all schools have their own traditions that get established. But what's unique about this, or that the University of North Dakota has, is a gift that was given as a vision, and I would be a part of a culture or a people, not a domesticated animal or a wild animal or anything like that. So that was in itself is unique. And having as a player, we held the name high. And I wore the old Blackhawk logo when I played, and it didn't matter, new or old. What it was that we were representative of a fighting Sioux, who was a strong and fierce warrior, and we understood that we could lose this name if we weren't careful, if you will. We were abusive, if you will. I don't want to say hostile, but it gets off track.
Right. So, this weekend, we're going to do a rally, and what is this rally about? What's going to happen?
I'll over to Eunice, she would be the one to answer that.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, it really is about the alumni. We work with a group of alumni. Frank's with that group, and since they're not going to use the Sioux name anymore, and they had this committee who picked some names. And anyway, the majority of people in North Dakota said you can't use a Sioux name. Just be North Dakota. And anyway, a couple of weeks ago, they eliminated North Dakota. There was like a big blow up. Everybody was talking about it. Social media, on the radio.
What method did they use to eliminate this, and what was the reasoning?
Well, they said that North Dakota would just, I don't even really remember what their message was.
Well, part of their message, this is Dave, but part of their message is President Kelly of UND emailed the NCAA, and the NCAA emailed him back what he was looking for, and they said, well, we may, it's possible that we might, if you use North Dakota, just North Dakota, and people continue to wear the Fighting Sioux gear and chant the Fighting Sioux, we may sanction you.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Folks.
That's now a free speech.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Well, here in 2012, some sorority members, when our hockey team went to the Frozen Four, they put out a banner, you can take our name, but you can't take our pride. Mm-hmm. And the president of the university, Kelly, made them go to what he called sensitivity sessions.
Unbelievable.
What the heck?
They didn't even say the name or anything. They just said, you can take our name, but you can't take our pride.
Heck no.
A sensitivity session. What a bunch of BS.
Yeah, it's incredible what this person has done. So part of the walk is just to have UND of North Dakota, because that is the popular choice, even though they eliminated.
Well,
and then we want this man to go back to Berkeley, where he came from.
Oh, Berkeley. Okay. I get it. I get it.
I mean, so let me get this straight. First, they took away the wildly popular Fighting Sioux, which was presented to the school in, was it 1969?
It was prior to that.
Okay. Presented to the school by the Sioux people and supported by the Sioux. They got rid of it anyway, and now everybody picks another name that has nothing to do with Fighting Sioux, and
tries to have
you're being
to it.
Silenced again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, there will come a day with this, and it's going across the country. You guys, I've listened to your shows before and different topics that you talk about. The campuses on what's being taught, and UND has been, or all campuses probably tout this as being a culturally diverse, the acceptance, tolerance, civility, all the things that go with this. But there's a strong movement across the country where I don't want to say it's the desensitizing, or where students are being, told that if I'm offended by anybody, somehow that's a right that I have to suppress, or take away somebody else's right or voice.
Right.
And it's starting to. I hope there's a correction coming soon, because we're seeing it now playing out in all the different avenues of different campuses where things are happening. And for us locally here, this is a big, significant issue. And even though we can have a discussion and tell you everything that's unique about Coca-Cola or Walt Disney trying to brand something, we have a sworn enemy of the Sioux people design a logo that bonds all people from all walks of life to one brand and one name. And that becomes priceless, but in the eyes of a few, that now has because it's hostile and abusive. Well, no, it's not. Well, nobody's going to play us now if we keep this name. Well, why? Well, because, there's a controversy. And now it's to the point where, and Eunice, Dave, we've talked about this, that possibly my daughter going to school there walks in wearing my jersey that I wore. She can't wear that, and she can't say at the end of the national anthem, home of the Sioux, or say the word Sioux, or walk on the campus with Sioux, because it's going to confuse the student athlete, or it's going to be a situation now where the NCAA is saying, well, we might sanction you. So the fear of mongering is starting to come back.
Right.
It's unbelievable what has happened, and the whole atrocity of this is the Sioux people have never had a voice.
Right. The Sioux people, there's many, there's several different tribes, as Eunice had stated in her letter, in very well stated, Eunice. I read that for hours and just dwelled on it, and I'm still dwelling on it. And you hit it on the head. You knocked it out of the park, and you gave me a lot of insight over and above Halbreder and those goons. But the majority of the people, the Native Americans up there in your part of the country, I mean, they don't agree with this, obviously, right?
No, the majority don't agree with it.
Right, and let me tell you, Navajos are because they're listening to us, and I speak Navajo, and they're not buying it either, and they're being educated now that, hey, this is a scam. And these people are socialists and they're Marxists, these teachers, and they're the racists, not us. And they're out there trying to say we're racist. If you say anything that Sioux name is good or that Redskin's name is good, you're a racist, and it's just a bunch of BS, as we all know. But we just got to keep going and waking them up and getting them united. And like Dan says, it's Native Americans, it's, they're passive, as we know, and I grew up at Navajo, and you, Eunice, you're standing up to fight and speak out, and a lot of people don't want to speak out for one reason or another. They're too busy with their 8-to-5 job, but it's up to us and the real deal to keep it going to get these people educated, not eradicated, and that way we can turn the light on. Somewhere, some way, somehow, we're going to turn the light on for them, and then they're going to know, and then they're going to say, I'm going to North Dakota. I'm going to be with Eunice. I'm going to stand with her, and I'm going to Navajo or wherever it is. That's what we want to do here at The Real Deal. But it's just amazing. We have First Amendment rights in this country, and for them to say that you're going to be sent to sensitivity classes or whatever it is for saying the word the Fighting Sioux.
What is that, like a concentration camp? What is that?
I don't know. I never heard of that before. A sensitivity? What is it? Sensitivity what class or training?
Like a probationary class.
Technically, all students freshmen are going to be supposedly have that as some kind of an orientation program.
Jesus.
And I got a daughter that's looking to go to school up there. And I'm like,
I never heard of that. I went to New Mexico State, and I didn't go to a sensitivity class.
Well, you probably would now. I don't know. Maybe it's like I said, it's part of this movement across the country, and we've got to really be careful because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or we don't want to have any civil
That's sad.
discourse or any. The Vietnam War, the marches in the streets, the things that would go on. That's what campuses are for.
Right.
Therefore, they keep us all in check, if you will, and we couldn't do that now. That banner that was put out, I have a large number of alumni, and we sent out an email to call that in support and to run a banner. We'll go to Target and buy all kinds of bed sheets and just keep lining that university with more and more banners. And of course, they came and slapped down that. And the fear of it is they're going to, the university is going to hold a grade point and graduation and all that. There was a lot of fear of that.
Unbelievable. They're going to punish them and hold a grade point because they spoke out for something that they feel that was worth the cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's unbelievable.
But I'm going to inject one thing here, back to the original question about the university and the Fighting Sioux. This name was given, and in '69 was given. There's a ceremony, the pipe ceremony, and that ceremony made moralistically the agreement, if you will, right. And we got people that are going against the pipe. The natives going against the pipe, willfully, knowing it. And this name was given. And what's unique, and I can go back, we talked about Whitestone and Wounded Knee and the history of, the Dakota conflict. And what the history is, why would these elders give this name to a quote, white university? Why would they want to be tied to this? Why would known as? And I think that's important, and Eunice mentioned it, the walk, and that is to honor the vision of these elders, because of the correct from wrong, Eunice, what is it, Wakanisha, the children?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? The name, with the sanctity of the children, for the 7 generations to be tied to a higher level of understanding, to be able to assimilate and be able to go to a facility, they're screaming your name, not in vain.
Right.
In pride and honor and
absolutely.
Respect.
Now, Eunice, isn't there going to be a delegation, Spirit Lake and Standing Rock?
Yeah, there is. We we did the alumni help. They raised money. We have 2 buses leaving from Standing Rock and Spirit Lake. But actually, what we're really going to do is we're going to. A lot of people don't heard about the ceremony, but they don't really know what it is. And so we want to honor those families. Their elders have gone on now, but we still want to honor them and let them know, in recognition of what they did. They knew the world was changing back then. They knew we were going to need education, and they fought for that. And they found one thing that they could use with the university, giving them the name and the naming ceremony in return for education.
Right.
And now that this is happening, like I said, I was denied going to school there last year. I went back to college, and they had told me I could go to school online. Was all excited about it and everything, and when it came time to it was those professors and the arts and sciences that rejected me and told me, no, we decided not to do it anymore. I don't know if it's because of the book or if they really did. I don't know.
They probably punished you because of your book.
And, I'm sure, because I wasn't nice to them in my book, and that's fine. I just
right.
About it.
And by the way, would you send me one of your books and autograph it, please?
Sure will, yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, it's just, that's amazing. I mean, they're after the Washington Redskins. They're after the Fighting Sioux. They're after everybody. Mm-hmm. They're on their own. They're like Dan said. They're the missionaries, and they're on a quest, and it's just ridiculous, really.
I don't get it, out, and after that, it's going to be the street names, because we've already seen the Black Horse Gang out there protesting street names.
Right.
So, what's left? Well, why are we not allowed to refer to Native Americans? They're almost like these ISIS guys who won't let you show an image of Muhammad. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like everything's so off limits, and so, any breath of anything is derogatory, and you can't do it. It's off limits. It's forbidden, and we're going to go absolutely apeshit if you mention it. And I don't get it. How are we supposed to keep that native heritage of this nation? And we talked about with Senator Chap Peterson earlier, is that these are unique cultures to the United States. How are we going to keep that if we're not even allowed to mention the damn thing?
Right.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing that's interesting is where, I live in the state, Eunice, we're citizens, Dave, of North Dakota. And there's South Dakota just south of us. But what is Dakota?
Right. Exactly. What is Oklahoma?
Yeah, well, and we can go Indiana, where the NCAA lives.
Right.
And so it's I don't want to say it's a slippery slope, because that slogan gets overused. But on principle, we're facing some unique times. And I remember reading, some of the stuff I read about Eunice, the Great Spirit talked about, the changing times. It was certain that the change would come, and it might not be good, or it might be good, or it might be bad. But what was certain was that a change would be coming, and they knew that the white Europeans were coming, and there was going to be change and conflict. But if you look at Lakota and Dakota, it's friendlies and allies, and yet we're hostile and abusive. When you talk to people about where these names come from and what they represent and the cultures in that, then it's, they don't know. It's like the Redskins. They don't know the history of it, but they're just going to jump on board because it's being, quote, politically correct and a fad or fashionable. So it's difficult to argue and debate ignorance and arrogance at the same time.
Absolutely.
I'd like to make a couple of points here. And when Eunice signed up for UND, that was in April. She signed up, and they said, okay. And we went back there a number of times. And even in July, you're going to be able to go do this. And then 3 weeks before school starts is when they told her, no, they're not going to do it. She had 3 weeks to get another college lined up. Now, there's no justification for this. They knew beforehand that if they were going to stop doing the online courses. But I really do believe it goes right along with the administration of UND and the arts and science departments. They have been fighting against this name since the mid-'70s. It's the professors there that have done it. You know, in 2001, UND staff got the Office of Civil Rights to investigate UND on the grounds that it was a hostile and abusive environment for Native students. Although the Office of Civil Rights opposes these names and images, they could find no evidence to back up those claims, and UND was given a clean bill of health. And then also what Frank was talking about, as a player, they were told how to respect the name. You will be using it. And what happened to these students, this sorority, they were given sensitivity sessions to stop them from using the name.
Sensitivity
or
sessions.
Thinking about the name. My God, you can't even think about it. They didn't say it, but you can't even think about it. But this whole thing is really, Halbritter is doing an awful lot with his money, but it's really coming from the education system.
Right. Well, that's the problem we have is we're just little guys out here. Mm-hmm. And we're not billionaires, and they are, and they fly around in their jets, and we're just hanging on by a wing and a prayer.
Outlets behind them that they pay for.
Yeah, and so we're running out of time, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, we're out of time. Frank, Dave, Eunice, thank you all so much, and we hope that you'll come back on the show. We want to encourage everybody to go out Saturday, August 22nd. That's this Saturday, correct?
Right.
And where are you meeting at?
At University Park in Grand Forks.
University Park in Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Yeah, about 4:30.
And support the Fighting Sioux alumni and community, and to have a right to that they lost their name and all they want to do is pick the alternative that they've chosen and keep it University of North Dakota, because if you're not the Fighting Sioux, then you're the University of North Dakota.
Right.
And be sure and tell everybody up there to get on board with the real deal.
Oh yeah, we do. I share it on my pages. And
have them listen to us because we're in the fourth quarter here, and we're trying to keep going, and we're not billionaires, and it's not free. I pay for everything here, and I want to keep it going because it's something that I'm very passionate about. And Eunice, thank you for sharing your letters with us because I enjoy your input, and I enjoy getting other people's ideas and how they feel about this. And you too, Frank, I never met you or talked to you, and it was great to hear you on the show tonight as well, sir.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're about ready to wrap it up.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about McCain getting kicked out of Navajo country.
John McCain got chased out of Navajo Nation last week at Navajo Code Talker Day, and we're going to figure that one out as soon as I talk to Che. It was either water rights or something. I read it was water rights.
Yeah. You turned out to be pretty much correct on that.
Was that right?
Yeah, but we'll talk about that next week.
We will, because Dan and I and Peter McDonald, we fought that fight, and we won that fight, and we shut them down, just like we shut these name changers down. So we are winning, but it's a slow, long haul, and we got to stick in together, and we just got to keep going. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody that's in the studio tonight: Bally, Mark, Kyle, Dan, Alex, Whitney, and Jennifer, and fans of all the different teams. They come to this studio. They fly into here to support me. right now because it's a difficult time. So they come to see me and to be with me, and they're my friends, and that's what friends do. So, Kyle, I just got to ask you something. There's between 150 and 200 stations here at the Star Worldwide, and it's the number one. It's the fastest growing internet radio station in the country, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle, tell our listeners, what's the number one radio show here?
It'd be The Real Deal.
That's it, The Real Deal, ladies and gentlemen. And with that being said, Kyle, tell them what the mission of the ambassador is.
Kicking ass and saving names, Ambassador.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Real Deal. Tune in to The Real Deal with the Ambassador and Danny Q every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and on demand 24/7 right here on Star Worldwide Networks.